listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Sports Pharmacy Podcast. My name is Dr. H, and I am your host. I am a wellness pharmacist, pharmacy owner, and certified sports nutritionist. Join me while we discuss a wide range of topics ranging from health and wellness, sports, and even some small business secrets. Feel free to join our Discord for more interactions with me and other fellow listeners. Now let's get into the show. Hello, everyone. Dr. H here. I have a great guest that I'm going to share a quick story as soon as I introduce her. And she is, and I don't know if she knows this or not, but I remember this conversation very vividly. First off, I have Dr. Lisa Faast with me here of DiversifyRx. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, Amush.
It's good to see you. I want to share a quick story about how we met, and then second, how you contributed to this podcast more than you know. We'll just start with that.
Ooh.
Yeah. First, I think I met you first at a PDS conference. It was right before COVID, February 2020. That was crazy how we were able to pull that off and still make it back. And
The very last event, I remember after that event, I went to Disney for 5 days. And the day after we left Disney, they shut it down.
Oh my goodness.
It was just before everything hit the
big
fan.
shutdown. It was, man, that was a crazy time to really think back in the 3 years ago that we had to go through that. But anyway, I sent Lisa a text message after she started DiversifyRx. Great program. We'll get into it, how it helps small business owners, pharmacy owners, and how much I've learned from it. She had a meeting in Dallas that we went to, and that was amazing. I learned so much cool stuff. Brought it home to our pharmacy. We are both local. She lives on the west side of the Metroplex. I'm on the east side of the Metroplex, so we're a little further apart. But I texted her and she gave her number to us, and she's been very grateful. And anytime you need any information from her, she's there. I texted her. I said, Lisa, I really, really want to start doing a podcast and social media stuff. You sent me 2 words and repeated it 3 times, and it stuck with me. And it was just do it 3 times. And I was like, all right, that's all I needed to hear. And here we are, episode 12 of this. So it's been great, man. And I appreciate you more than you know.
Well, thank you. I'm a big believer that action trumps everything. Like, the only way to get out of the hole is to start, climbing. And so, my answer to everything is just do it. Like,
just do it.
It's the only way over the fear. It's the only way of I don't know how. It's like, go figure it out. Like, that's just my natural instinct. Like, just do it first and figure it out later. So that's awesome. That makes me feel a little warm and fuzzy and give me chills. So
we need to get you a Nike sponsorship if you got Just Do It going on.
Yeah,
that's the next step, right?
Yeah, I will gladly, put a swoosh on,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a stripes guy versus the checks, but that's okay. We'll
I don't even pay attention. I'm so terrible at those minute details. I really, really am. My brain is so got blinders on. I've trained it so long over so many years that I just oblivious to certain things. So.
Absolutely. I mean, it happens. There's always going to be some things that you can focus on and some things you're not. And that applies to business ownership, right?
Yeah. Well, you talk about the pandemic and that last conference in February. I remember some people in the backstage in the green room, they were watching news and they're like, oh, there's this infection, there's things. And I'm like, don't worry about it.
We all
I've been so focused on creating the content. I had no idea. I was like, you're fine. Go to Europe. You're okay.
You'll enjoy it. Yeah, go to Italy. That was a good idea.
What can happen? Yeah, I had no clue. Yeah.
I was in the airport on the way to Orlando at DFW, and I was like, hey, maybe I should buy a bottle of hand sanitizer at this little store here. And I was like, this will protect me. It'll be fine. Shook hands with everybody, met with so many cool people. It was my first conference as a business owner. Because at that point, I was 6 months into ownership. So I was like, oh, this is cool. And then the pandemic just slapped us. That's what happens.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's, and God, I don't know that, I hope we never go through something like that again, but what a thing to live through. It is seriously, that is going to be the stories when we're old and, talking to our great grandkids, those are the stories we're going to be sharing. So.
We're not going to be talking about the Vietnam War. We'll be I lived through COVID-19. Let's talk about that. So let's get into it, man. DiversifyRx. How did you? Let's introduce DiversifyRx to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about it. Obviously, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your venture that you tried to go into, Dr. Lisa.
Yeah. So the best way to describe myself is I am a serial entrepreneur. I just love business. I'm a marketing nerd. I love the startup phase. I love creating things. My brain is just a problem solving brain. So for me, starting a new business is like one big problem that needs to be solved. And I love it. And for whatever reason, God put me on this earth and I know how to make pharmacies profitable. I know how to run businesses, especially brick and mortar, like local businesses. If you tell me, you want me to go run like some of Amazon affiliate store or something, like I have no clue about that.
Yeah.
But if you're a brick and mortar, like local business, like that is my jam. Like I love local communities. I love locally independent businesses. And I'm a pharmacist by education and by trade. I don't practice anymore, but that is my passion. And so those two things come together. And so I've owned my own pharmacies. I started my first pharmacy in California. And then in 2012, I sold that and I went to work for a company you mentioned earlier, PDS. That was like a coaching and consulting kind of company. And I got to work with like thousands of pharmacy owners. And I just really, kind of honed my skills in of like, all the cool things that are to do out there. I love finding new things. And when I owned my first pharmacy as a startup, and you've probably experienced some of this, Hamush, is I did everything right and everything wrong. Like I did some amazing, incredible things. And I also like did some face palm, like I can't believe I made that decision things. And so I really love bringing that experience because gosh, I have over like 20 some odd years experience now in pharmacy. Like I'm getting old.
It doesn't look a day over 30 if you can't see
Yeah,
us right now.
when it gets close to 30, I don't know, that's going to be a little scary. And I love bringing that experience to new pharmacy owners so they don't have to like stumble like I did. Because when I went into pharmacy ownership, I knew nobody. I knew nobody who owned a pharmacy. I had no network. I had no support. I was literally felt like I was on an island and I fumbled through it. And right now with independent pharmacy, that was back when I started my pharmacy, that was 2005. That was almost like a completely different industry. You can make mistakes and you could still survive and you could still actually thrive. Whereas nowadays, that is not the case at all. We are in a completely different industry. It is cutthroat. Margins are, slimmer than razor thin.
Yep.
You can't afford to stumble because if you do, like, you're talking about your livelihood. You're talking about not being able to meet payroll or meet wholesaler obligations. So I just love bringing all of those years of experiences on both the pharmacy ownership side, also just general entrepreneurship. I mean, we've owned car dealerships, paintball businesses, sports organizations. Like it's kind of crazy all the different things that my husband and I and our family have done in terms of entrepreneurship. And so I just love bringing all of that in to the independent pharmacy. And yes, I'm a pharmacist by education, went to pharmacy school, but really I'm so passionate about independent pharmacies because it's about the patient. I truly believe, as somebody who's worked for chains, owned pharmacies, been in lots of areas of this industry, I know that patients are best served by that local independent pharmacy. They get the best pharmaceutical care, and our patients, our country, our citizens all across cities, big and small, they deserve to have good pharmacy care. I know everybody talks about good doctors and good hospitals, but you can't have complete healthcare without having really good pharmacy care. And just handing somebody pills in a bottle and like saying, good luck, may the odds be in your favor that
Figure it out.
how to use this, is not how we do that. And so I truly believe that saving independent pharmacy is a way to bring quality care to our citizenship and how to get us all healthy. We all see the trends of what's going on in there. And so really that's my passion, is to save independent pharmacy because we deserve to thrive, because we provide awesome care to our patients. And the only way to do that, frankly, is to make a profit.
Yep.
And a lot of pharmacy owners, I'm sure you've probably run into this, like feel kind of icky talking about profit. Like it's kind of like, oh, I need to go wash myself. Like because somehow like profit and healthcare aren't supposed to like mix.
Makes us feel bad, right? Like as an owner, I would not want to take advantage of a patient to make money for myself.
You think of profit as like, oh, I'm swindling or I'm doing something bad to make a profit. And it's because we as pharmacy owners have been like martyred, the martyrs of the healthcare world that, it's like, no, you're pushed down here. You don't deserve this. You're only doing it right if you lose money 20% of the time, like those kinds of things. And somehow, but really when you run a business, profit comes from you providing an awesome service
Right.
and somebody wanting that service and paying for it. Like, it's a good thing. It means everybody's won when you get to make a profit. Obviously, as long as you're not selling the drugs out the back door, which,
Yep.
we don't want
Yep.
that kind of profit.
We
But
will frown on that one. Yeah.
yeah, we frown upon that. That's not a marketing strategy that I condone. And so, but profit is a good thing. And so a lot of what I do is just try to change the mindset that it's okay to make a profit. If you provide a good business and good service and you treat your patients well, and that causes them to come and spend more money with you, like,
Mhm.
that's a win-win-win. Like, everybody wins in that scenario, and it's okay to make a profit. So that's my passion. That's what I love. That's what I get up and do every day. And I'm so blessed that I get to be able to do that. So
Absolutely, and Lisa's passion is definitely infectious. And I remember we recently just had another DiversifyRx meeting in Orlando. Correct? Yeah, we had a
yep.
conference there, and that was my first speaking engagement as a farm influencer, whatever you want to call it. I think I don't remember the story, but I got into Orlando like to my hotel like 5 a.m. that night.
Yeah, I remember you texted me. You're
Awful.
like, I've had like 2 hours of sleep. I'm like,
Yeah, I was like, I'm here. Let's do it.
you're good. I'm like, you're good.
And one thing that I took away, and it still sticks with me today, is that um, I work every day at my pharmacy, and to me, that's difficult, right? Like, yeah, we are doing well, we're thriving, we're going in the right direction. But one thing that I learned from a lot of the cool people that I met was that I'm working too much in my pharmacy, not on my pharmacy, and that applies to a lot of other businesses too, right? I mean, this business is my baby. Like we take care of everything, and it's like I said, this applies to all business ownership. So I hired a great pharmacist. She's working for me now at least one day a week. Soon she'll be starting doing 2 days a week to start help pulling me out and do cool things like this and meet cool people. But yeah, I learned so much from just being around really smart people that have done this a lot longer than I have. And we got to talk about your shirt because it's one of my favorite things. And I'll tell everyone the nickname that I give you every single time. So I for the audio people, she has a shirt that just says "Pharmacy Badass," and that's what she tries to push for her pharmacy owners is to reach that level. And I call her Captain Badass, is what I call her. So tell us a little bit about the motto and kind of what you see the future of pharmacy going into.
Yeah, so pharmacy owners are this weird bunch, and I can say that because I'm part of that weird bunch. We talked about, we're clinicians first for the most part. Even people who are just, I'll say, entrepreneurs of pharmacies, they may not be pharmacists. They understand that it's a healthcare business first. And so there's this weird dichotomy, as we said, that like somehow profit and business stuff is like separated from healthcare, that you can be a really good healthcare professional, a really great pharmacist, and you'll just make it. And it's just not the way it is anymore. It's cutthroat. There's all forces from everywhere. A lot of, the lay people always think it's the competition. Oh, Amazon's hurting the independents. Not really. It's this whole secret organization that most people don't know about, PBMs, which is, where we live in our world. And you can't run your pharmacy as just an average business owner anymore. You used to be able to be a great pharmacist, and if you were just an okay business owner, like those two things put together meant you would have a successful pharmacy. And nowadays, you can't. You have to be amazing. You have to be an awesome owner, business person. You have business acumen and be awesome at pharmacy services. Like, you have to have both. And so to me, like when I was first talking with pharmacy owners and I was first creating Diversify, and I was at this weird point in my life where I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was applying for some jobs. I had left a job. I thought it was going to be like the second long-term job of my career, and it didn't work out. And I was just kind of left like, what do I do? So I was applying for all these different jobs. I was actually considering leaving pharmacy, and it was giving me like this really big anxiety.
Dang.
And so I just started talking to pharmacy owners because I loved helping pharmacy owners. So I just started taking calls and just helping people and doing things. And, and they're the ones that kind of started like the terminology, badass. And I was like, pharmacy badasses, like, that's what I want to create. Like, I want to create this world of independent pharmacies where they're all pharmacy badasses. They know what they want. They're willing to go after it. We ban timidness because like that's the biggest thing that I think hurts pharmacy owners is they're scared.
Yep.
Because when we put our pharmacy hat on, our pharmacist hat on, we need to be perfect.
Right.
You want to dispense perfect, no mistakes, no nothing, which is perfect for healthcare delivery.
Mhm.
But when you're a business and an entrepreneur, perfection holds you back, and
Yep.
perfection strangles you in terms of growth and creativity and innovation. And it's really hard for pharmacists to make that switch. And so, like, badasses to me, like when we were talking with some pharmacy owners, it was just a boldness and a willingness to like just jump before you actually see like the entire path. And so that is really my goal. If I'm going to save independent pharmacy, we need to create, 16,000 or so, however many pharmacy owners there are out there. Nobody quite knows, but about 16 or so thousand of pharmacy badasses. I want, and independence can be amazing. And everywhere I travel, I'm sure, and pharmacy owners are like everywhere. You go into a pharmacy and you kind of that first impression. And my local pharmacy that I go to, God bless them, I love them. But man, you walk in there and it is the blandest thing. Like
Oh
it is
no.
just like, I'm like, man, this could be so awesome. Like they have an
Yeah.
amazing location and blah, blah, all the things. And it's like, blandness is not going to work anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You've got to do something different. And that's one of the reasons I love sports pharmacy. I did a lot of sports pharmacy in my first pharmacy. And, you've got to just diversify. I mean, that's
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
you got to diversify and do something different. And so anyways, that is my passion, because I want just a bunch of independent pharmacy owners that are bold, they're willing to take chances, they're willing to serve their patients how their patients need to be served. And that's how we'll be successful, because it is freaking hard. It
It
is
is.
absolutely hard out there. But people like you, Hamush, and tons of our members, because we have a membership for pharmacy owners, they prove that it can be done and you can be super successful. But the only way to do that is by being different than just plain Jane pharmacy, because that won't work.
Yeah. And I've witnessed it here specifically with being in the Frisco area. I've seen 2 pharmacies close in my area, man. It's
Yep.
crazy. One of them was a huge compounding pharmacy, like I would say about 6 miles away from my pharmacy up here. And I knew the pharmacy owner. His name was Brad, and like I don't know. I couldn't think of words of how I can help them. I don't see other pharmacies like that as my competition. I don't.
No.
I just feel like we should have like something like you're building, a unity that comes with it, right? We're all fighting against the same thing. We're all trying to take care of the patients the right way. And you mentioned PBMs, and we can do a whole podcast on PBMs at one point, and pharmacy benefit managers for the listeners out there, and how it is that they're making money off of every single step of pharmacy and healthcare. But at some point, you have to change your model. And during COVID, that was one thing I had to learn, was that the insurance reimbursements awful, the medications that you're trying to bill for terrible. I had a patient that brought me a prescription for oh gosh, what was it? It was some sort of nasal spray, and I felt so bad, and I had to fill it anyway, and understand that I will never turn a patient away because of this, and I didn't in this case. I lost $160 on one prescription, and I feel bad turning them away, and I'm like, you know what? I'll make up for this some other way, and that's what we had to do. And for us at our pharmacy now, we're at 96% cash business, and I am so proud of that, because I don't have to worry about audits. I don't have to worry about PBMs changing their rules, and God only knows how much money they're going to take away from me in 2024. But they'll find a way somehow.
Yep.
And that's a lot, really thanks to you, Lisa. I mean, I pushed for that at my pharmacy because of your program, and I'm not overcharging customers. Customers will pay to go to a good pharmacy. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
And I've had patients tell me, you're more expensive, but we come to you because A, you'll always have it done, and B, you guys are awesome. And that's all you got to do.
Yeah, this whole mindset somehow in pharmacy that like patients won't pay for services. I don't know where it started. If I could ban one thing, that would probably be like the thing I would love to change the most. And I experienced the same thing too. So my pharmacy, where I was when I lived in California, where my pharmacy was, it was a big city. The greater county had over 1 million people.
Oh, wow.
My pharmacy was in like the northwest part of town. And one time I plotted all of our patients on like a map. I wanted to see where our patients were. And I kind of assumed they'd be like this cluster around the pharmacy. And I was so surprised that they were actually very spread out. And I started to think about that as like, these patients probably passed 50 other pharmacies on the way to my pharmacy. Like there certainly was no shortage of pharmacies. And there's a reason that they came to me. And it was because we provided a different experience. We always took care of the patient. We always offered them that next thing. We always solved their problems. It wasn't just about dispensing a product. It was about solving their problems. And I think the pandemic taught us a lot of lessons, but I think one of those lessons is that patients actually enjoy more control over their healthcare, and they will pay for things that they want. I kind of learned this long ago. My very first job as a pharmacist was at Kmart. Kmart doesn't even exist anymore. There's probably
Yeah.
people listening that are like,
I had a rotation at Kmart actually.
did you? Yes. Well,
Yeah, I did in Virginia.
I loved working for Kmart and the pharmacy because they left it alone. It wasn't their
Mhm.
main business. So like the
Mhm.
managers didn't know anything. They're like, you just go do your thing. And I was in a farming community in California, 99% Medicaid, and they were rolling out the FlavorRx program, which was
Oh yeah,
a flavoring thing for
remember?
prescriptions for those of you that don't know. And I was the highest volume pharmacy in the entire Western United States in a Medicaid area. And
Dang.
you have to pay for the flavoring. And I learned such an important lesson there that it's not about can patients pay. I mean, there comes to a point where like, hey, I actually have no money, I can't pay you. But really, it's about do they want to pay?
Mhm.
And the thing that I learned about is if a patient thinks they need it, like if they're if they're prescribed a prescription to treat a disease and they're like, hey, I am entitled to this, they generally won't pay it. They want the insurance, they want
Right.
somebody else to pay it. But if they want it, they will pay no matter what the cost is. That's one of the reasons why I love veterinary medicine and
Oh
prescriptions,
yeah.
because people will pay whatever is required for their pets. One of the reasons when I opened my first pharmacy, I focused on pediatrics. Not only was I pregnant at the time, so I was on mommy mode, but people will pay for their kids. They will sacrifice for their kids and pay for their kids before they'll pay for themselves. And so I learned such an important lesson early in my entrepreneur career that if you provide services and products that people want, you never have to worry about selling. You never have to worry about people choosing to pay because they want those things, beauty, sex, health, anti-aging, all of those kinds of things. Weight loss is a
Weight
good one,
loss. Yep. Yep.
sports pharmacy, athletic performance, all those kinds of things. Those are things that people want
Mhm.
and they'll pay for it. And
Yep.
so it was this really cool lesson I learned in my early 20s that just really helped shape kind of how I look at business. And so you're absolutely right. People will pay for what they want. They want an experience. Why do you go to Starbucks?
Yeah.
That was another like lesson, like this dichotomy of you can get a cup of coffee at 7-Eleven for, 99 cents or whatever, but people go and pay $5 or $6 for a cup. Why? And
Mhm.
it's this experience. So I know Hamush in Frisco, you provide an experience. And sometimes that experience is the products the actual thing you sell, but sometimes it's your friendliness. You
Mhm.
know their name. You ask them how their vacation was. It can be 1,000 different things, but it's sticky and it's
Mhm.
unique, and that's what keeps people coming to you. And that's really what happens in our country all over at these independent pharmacies.
And that really applies to all small businesses. I mean,
Absolutely.
it applies in restaurant business. It applies in really anything that you want to go after. And that's part of the cool thing about where I live in Frisco is that small businesses are the backbone of the city, and that's
Mhm.
why the pandemic didn't really affect us here. The economy is booming over here. We're growing as fast as anybody else. Collin County, the county that we're in, we just got our appraisals for our houses. Ouch, that's number one. Yeah, the property
Yes,
taxes. Yeah,
us too, us
yeah,
too. I'm in Tarrant County, so
yeah.
yeah.
Collin County had average price increases or appraisal increases 29% year over year. What I can't even think of what reason that would be. I had an insurance company for home insurance turn me down because they thought I was faking our appraisal of our house. I swear, I have the paper. They sent it to me. And I was like, I don't know what you mean to tell you. So small businesses are definitely the backbone, and that applies for any sort of facet of business. So where do you see the future of pharmacy going, Lisa?
I think there's going to be this huge personalization. I mean, I think medicine in general is going to personalization, whether it's, genetics and matching to things, but more specialty drugs. But I really see pharmacies really branching off. I don't think pharmacies should stop dispensing. I truly believe that
Mhm, mhm.
independent pharmacies, if prescriptions are required or needed, like an independent pharmacies where people should get their prescriptions. And we should be doing so much more than that, whether it's talking about drug-induced nutrient depletion or talking about wellness, talking about, there's this whole, I'm a functional medicine junkie.
Mhm.
So there's so many things that you can go in there, but, let's help people get healthier. And I'm almost part of the movement that's like dispensing pharmacies. It's like, if we need to dispense, let's dispense, but
Yeah.
let's not make that the A to Z of healthcare and how we help people. let's get some testing, let's do some services, let's help with supplements, let's figure out what their goals are. And pharmacies and pharmacists are so underutilized. Patients who have a good relationship with their pharmacist know how valuable a pharmacist is, because we know a lot. Like, it's amazing. We go through years of school. We have doctorate degrees. Most pharmacists spend 8 years in schools, the typical. Many of them do residencies and fellowships now, and so we know so much about the systems of how everything fits together. That organic chemistry, that the dreaded class that we all had to take. But that affects everything. And so it's like, we can help with weight loss, we can help with sleep, performance, anxiety, like gut health, like all these really cool things. And so I see pharmacies, the ones who are really successful are the ones who do dispensing really well, and they optimize it. I'm a big optimizing freak.
yeah.
You got to optimize it.
Got to have those operations. Yeah.
They layer on other things. I always talk about the profit lasagna. Like, you lay down the first layer, and then you keep building and keep building. And as you do that over time, you end up with this really awesome lasagna, and you really end up with this really awesome pharmacy. My pharmacy, I own a couple of pharmacies. When we buy them, we do that. We fix all the stuff. We fix the core of the business. Then we start adding things where we, sell supplements. We add point of care testing, and, you start just layering on things. And next thing you know, you look back 5 years later and you're like, wow, holy moly. Like, I'm doing all kinds of things. But if you try to do it all at once, like, you can't build a lasagna all at once. You can't just dump it in a pan. It has to be in layers. And I think that's the really important lesson for any business owner, whether it's pharmacy or something else, is that you can't look at like an Amazon, or you can't look at something and be like, go try to emulate that. They didn't start there. They started with books, and they started with this, and then they added this. And so that whole just concept of a lasagna, I think, really helps. And it usually resonates with another pharmacy, and they're like, okay, I got to get the cheese down before I put the next layer of meat, And so, but when you're done, you're doing it all. You just can't start off doing it all, and you got to take it step by step. And so I actually am hopeful for pharmacies, even though there's all these negative things coming down, because I see that patients are willing to pay, and I know the awesomeness that pharmacies can bring, and you put them together, and it's a beautiful outcome. But we have to be willing to change.
Absolutely.
Us as the pharmacy owner, us as the person leading, we have to invest in ourselves to learn about these new things and to be willing to change. And that's where that pharmacy badass comes from. It's a lot of work. Hamush, you know this. I mean, you started a podcast, you've done all these really cool things. It's like, starting something and changing behavior is hard. And it can be incredibly fruitful and worth that investment. And so we just have to make that initial investment first.
And one thing that you push a lot, and you have a great newsletter that I get at Friday, 12 o'clock every single week. My weekly awesomeness, is that what it's called?
Yep.
My weekly awesomeness. Yep. I love that, because it's always like small tidbits of something that you can take from it. And then you also give an update on your pharmacies too, which is really cool. So it's definitely something that, people can subscribe to on your website. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely. It's free. Comes out every Friday, like you said.
And yeah, Friday, 12 o'clock. I see it every single time. I'm like, there's Lisa again. Lisa, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so DiversifyRx is the name of our company. So we have all the social media channels. DiversifyRx.com is our website. My personal page is Lisa Faast, and that's Faast with 2 A's, as my husband says, and I've now married into it, double A, double awesome. And yeah.
That was good. I was expecting that. That was good.
Yeah. And so, because like, how do you spell it? So double A, double awesome, Lisa Faast. Yep. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the things. I'm doing all my TikTok stuff,
giving TikToks,
out minute videos, because we are out here to save independent pharmacy. We actually have a lot of other small business owners that follow us and kind of like read the stuff, because a lot of it's applicable. But yeah, absolutely. So under DiversifyRx or the my personal name, and then you mentioned the show that you've been to a couple of times. That's the Pharmacy Profit Summit. So you can always check that out as well.
The next one is at Omni Dallas Hotel, August 4th through the 5th. Sign up for all the updates. You're selling tickets now, is that right?
Yep, selling tickets now. We're at the big, beautiful Omni in downtown Dallas, which is going to be awesome. And coming up in August. So don't worry, the air conditioning works very, very well inside the Omni. So you'll be fine.
It's the August heat in good old Dallas, man. I know a bunch of people that are going to be there. I actually spoke with the one of the starters of Ugo.
Yes.
And he was he lives out here too at DFW
He
too.
does.
So,
I know.
yeah, he
I'm so
does.
glad. I'm like, we just need to get all of y'all out here.
Yeah, just all of
Big
everybody.
old North Texas party.
Yeah, so they have a bunch of cool speakers that are coming out. I think one of my favorites is Yasser. I think he's going to have some really cool information for everybody.
Really great story about Yasser. You talked
Please.
about really quick that you don't see other independents as your competition. So Yasser's from my hometown where I had my pharmacy.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
from Bakersfield. And so he opened a pharmacy like, I don't know, a block away from me. And he was so surprised when he opened that I was so welcoming, that I was like, let me share with you all my things. And this is why I had my own pharmacy. And we became really good friends. You know, that was, probably 10 years ago or so now, like time flies. But I've continued to watch him and continue to, you know, mentor him and talk to him and, you know, see him thrive. But yeah, that's my hometown. Like a lot of people would have considered somebody like him a competition, but we just didn't look at each other that way. It's like, let's go take all the business from, you know, the CVS and the Walgreens and the Rite Aid that are treating patients horribly. And if to do that, we have more business than we can handle. And so we never, you know, never looked at each other as competition. And that was, you know, that's just a great example of how you can literally be block from another independent and you still both can thrive and be awesome. So
yeah, I'll post the link for the tickets that you can buy your tickets now for the summit. Dr. Lisa Faast, DiversifyRx, man, we scheduled this yesterday, which was April 25th, and today, April 26th, she made time for me. So I was really appreciate your time, Lisa.
Well, thanks for asking, Hamosha. It is so fantastic seeing you blossom and just grow yourself. So it's fantastic.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, consider giving us a 5-star review anywhere that you get your episodes. Follow us at Sports Pharmacy Pod, as well as me, your host, at Dr. Mix-a-Lot. Join our Discord server for more interactions with me and fellow listeners. As always, stay well, stay hydrated, and I will catch you next time.